Everybody in the right room? Cool. Is this thing on? Cool. Jim? No. Security? Hey, look, it's time. Okay, cool. Start on time, end on time. Sugar them up, send them home. There's a rattle in this, isn't there?
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to use it because they're recording, and that's what they're recording off of. Right? Yep. Or he makes me stand behind that, which I'm not going to do. All right. Let's get going. Please, please, please. We want feedback. Okay? I'm begging. Give us feedback. I'm going to talk about two things today. T-SQL for readability and T-SQL for tuning. T-SQL for readability is about your performance, right? It's not enough to write good T-SQL code that runs well. You need to write T-SQL code that you can hand to someone else and they can read it, okay? So we're going to talk about those two things. We're going to spend a very little time on the readability. I'm going to try to get through that as fast as I can, but I got a few points and I'm going to make them because I get to. My name is Grant Fritchey. I work for Redgate Software. This is my contact information. Please feel free to use it. I'll put this up again at the end when we do Q&A, so you don't feel like you have to write it all down right now. But that's all my email, that's my blog, that's all my information. Please get in touch. Right? Nothing's hidden, everything's exposed. Here is our agenda. Please memorize it. Okay. All right, let's talk about this. I don't care how you write code. I'm not going to try to dictate, if you put commas at the end or commas at the front. I don't care. All I'm asking you to do is to come up with a standard, come up with a methodology that you're going to use, whatever it might be, write it down, publish it, and let people know what it is. You've got to communicate this thing out. Whatever you guys do, do it fairly consistently, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Object names, comments, formatting, error handling, and enforcing the fact that you've got a standard is absolutely vital to get to readable code. It just is. I'm sorry, it is. You've got to do that. Now, the things I'm going to be talking about here, as far as this readability stuff, these are all horrible mistakes that I have made or horrible mistakes that I have witnessed. And I'm just trying to stop you guys from doing the same thing. Okay? It's nice and simple, nothing hard, nothing complex. All right? Nod your heads. Everybody asleep? Do you guys go down and chocolate up and then come back up here? Because if so, you're going to pass out, and that's not cool. All right, let's talk about object names. Everybody see that in the back? Is that big enough? DDL, TBL, diddle tibble. You said it very correctly, yeah. Diddle tibble. Object names should be descriptive, right? You should name the objects. I know if you are working in Oracle, you are limited to 30 characters. This is an Oracle. We're talking SQL Server. There's no limit. Well, okay, there is a limit. I mean, and if you get near the limit, okay, you've gone too far. Every time someone says, well, what's the limit on this? It's like, why are you asking? Because that's almost always an indicator that if you're worried about like, oh, can I get 5,000 names on the, stop. Okay, but you want to be descriptive. But if you have to use abbreviations, use abbreviations. I joke about this, but I'm going to joke about it again and get in trouble. Most of this audience already knows this, but there's a few that don't. In the old days, oh here, he doesn't know. In the old days, we had these things called books. And it was on paper, and one of the books was called a dictionary. Okay? And in the dictionary, you looked it up, and there was a word, and it does find the meaning. I know they have them online now. I know, it's cool. But one of the things that was in the dictionary was abbreviations, standard abbreviations. So if you need to use an abbreviation, you go to the dictionary and find that abbreviation, please, because you don't want to do this. Anybody know what that is? Guesses, please. Drop-down list table. That's a good one. I haven't heard that one before. No. Data definition, no. You're being way too smart. It's not smart. Okay, it's not smart.
David's little table.
Huh? David's little table. That's not bad, but it's almost worse than what I'm going to tell you. This is. Anybody other guesses? Data deleted table. That's not bad, not bad. Okay. Deductible. Yeah. Deductible. Now spell deductible. You already hit it, yes. 2 L's. This is an abbreviation. Abbreviation means to make shorter. How often do we make words shorter by adding letters? Just curious. And yeah, that was a real standard, not one I picked. This is one that was a witness. Don't do diddle tibble, right? Look up abbreviations, make them standard, be consistent. Consistent's okay. Aliases. Aliases are great. Anybody in here lazy? Good. Lazy is good. I am lazy. I will not type out the long table names. I use them. I want them, so I know what the table actually is, but I don't have to type it. So I create an alias, and I use the aliases. Aliases, be consistent in your aliases. Be clear in your aliases. And by clear, I mean not A, B, C, D in every query for different tables. Table A could be address, yeah, could be. And it could also be, you know, diddle tibble or any other table. That's not cool. Make your aliases clear, concise, and consistent. And I had a friend, good friend, smart guy. Every time I said this, oh, we need to do this because we need to be consistent, he'd leap up on the table, and I mean literally, leap up on the table and shout out at me, "A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds." And I'd just nod until one day it was just kind of like, dude, you know the operative word there is foolish, not consistent. Consistency is good. Foolish consistency is this, right? It was an enforced standard. We had to use diddle tibble. We had to. There was no choice. Diddle tibble was what we must do, despite the fact that it was stupid. The fact that we were taking an abbreviation that should be simple, DED, say, for deductible, because that's what it says in the dictionary, right? We used diddle tibble. Don't, right? That's foolishly consistent. Consistency itself is good. Comments. Please, God, do something. Okay? Your code, and I know everyone in here is smarter than I am. I have no question. Your code is still not self-documenting. I promise you that. I promise you that because, and here's how I'm going to prove it. Everybody in here who's ever looked at code that they wrote 5 years ago and didn't recognize it. And further went, what moron wrote this? And then you looked in source control and went, oops. Because you did, by the way, say that, what moron wrote this out loud to your team. No, I'm the only one? Yeah, okay.
Usually a 4-letter word goes with it.
Yeah, I know, I agree, and I can't say it. Also, this is a mistake I made, and boy, don't do it. Documentation, in your code, it should be there. You need to have comments, you need to, dude, good to see you. You need to have comments, you need to have stuff in there. But what you don't want to do, again, and I did this, I'm guilty, is put every change in. 10, 22, 23, GBF, I added a column. 10, 22, 24, I dropped that column. 10, 2, 25, I hate my boss, I added that column back. Eventually, that gets big. And you know what? At some point, it actually does start to affect performance. You can make comments so big that they hurt performance. Normally, if anyone asks, they'll say, I mean, if I was asked, I would say, no, comments never, ever, 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 ever hurt performance. Okay, until you put like gigabytes of information in there because you've got 3 years worth of changes. Yeah, I wasn't popular because I'm the one who enforced that standard and it was stupid. That's what source control is for. But please, please, please do comment your code. You must, okay? Keep going, because I don't want to get through this part quick and we can get to playing with code. Error handling. Who here is not using try-catch? Raise your hands high, because most people don't. Come on. Use it. You want to know why? Deadlocks. Oh my God, you can actually issue a retry statement as part of the T-SQL statement directly inside and usually get past the deadlock. Yeah, you should identify what's causing the deadlock. Yeah, you should tune your queries. Yeah, there's all this stuff that you do to avoid deadlocks. But holy God, if you don't have to return an error message to the users, you're a hero. And you can do it using try-catch. But whatever you do, establish your local best practices and document them. Make sure you guys write all this stuff down. This is how we do these things, okay? Any questions or comments on anything I've said so far? I'm going kind of quick through this because I just don't want to dwell on it too much, but I really want to make the point because readability makes it so you guys perform better. And if you guys perform better, then you can spend the rest of your time working on T-SQL performance. Okay? Any comments? All right. Here are my personal preferences because I've just belittled everyone in the room. Now it's your chance to belittle me. I like camel case. There's been several readability studies. It's supposed to be better. Camel case, also known as mixed case or up-down case, or somebody called it something weird, and I still can't remember what it was. Anyway, looks like that. I use it. I use uppercase for reserve words and keywords. I just do, because it makes things clear. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not shocked. I see select. It looks like select. I use line breaks. I use them on the select list. I use them between the join criteria. I use them on the where criteria. I break it up vertically, and I'll show you why in a minute. I use semicolons for statement terminators, not at the beginning of the with statement. Yes, I know sample code comes that way. The reason why does sample code come that way is because you guys aren't using it at the end of the statements, right? So people make the sample code so it won't fail, so they put the semicolon in front of the with statement. But that's not a requirement. The requirement is to use the semicolon at the end of your other statement, the preceding statement. Okay, so please, please, please use semicolons. I also indent. I use white space. I came out of desktop publishing, actually. It's one of my first jobs, you know, real human jobs as opposed to some of the other weird jobs I've had, was in desktop publishing. And white space is good. Indenting stuff breaks up the page and makes things readable, okay? And this is all stuff that I do intentionally as part of a format. And yeah, I wrote it down and enforced the standard, which occasionally makes things really ugly when you enforce standards. Any comments on this? We're cutting you guys off from chocolate ever again. Yeah?
It seems like the default SQL prompt format.
It's close to the default SQL prompt format, mainly because I beat the snot out of those guys to get them to go. It is fairly close. Right, let's play with some code. Anybody ever seen this one? Because I have. Okay, here's the only thing about this that does not bother me. The select star. I don't care. That's not that big a deal. What else is wrong with this?
It's all in one line.
It's all in one line. That gets problematic. What else is wrong with it?
Keywords are lowercase.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if the keywords are lowercase. This one's uppercase. These two are not. Inconsistent, right? Makes it harder to read. You don't understand what's going on. Yeah, the color coding helps, assuming you've got the color coding. What if this is printed out and you're looking at it? Yes. Now, in theory, because it's address, and I did cheat on purpose, in theory, that's possibly a good alias. Maybe. Right? But it's not being used. Right. So I'm making this alias, and I'm not using it. What else about the alias? No as. As is meant for aliases. As is supposed to be there and used as aliases because it makes it clear what you're doing. In theory, that could be two different tables. Be a stupid query, but I'm not arguing that. But now you're thinking like, okay, well, what's the big deal? That's a little query. What, you know, who cares? Okay. Hang on. Oh!
BL is the shortcut.
Nuts. This is what I was looking for. I was looking for the rogue GUID ID, but what was B again? Anybody remember table B?
I didn't even see it.
Ah, crap. Okay, hang on.
You guys make any products to alphabetize those columns for us?
Okay. Oh, right, sales order header as B. Yeah, oh, cool. Anybody else seen this in the real world? Because I have. Don't do this. Don't do this to yourselves. Don't do this to others. Please don't do this to others, right? Consultants in the room, come on. I'm not picking on you. Guys, don't do this, okay? Because you leave, and then the rest of us have to live with the mess. But, yeah, you want to come back, yeah. What do you mean you can't figure it out? Here, let me show you. Oh. Whoops. What about this one? Same query. So I'm going to do create procedure sp my bad proc. Now this one's actually kind of easy to figure out. We can see what's going on here. But when you get 30 or 40 parameters and they look like this, no. Okay, no. Exactly. And then when you go from one proc to the next, to the next, to the next, and they all look like that, no, 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 no. Okay, don't do it. It just makes it harder to read. It makes things difficult. Okay. Oh yeah, well I've done that. Oops. No, sometimes that's a foolish mistake. But yeah, I've done that. Don't do that. Instead, you do stuff like this. You make it clear, right? Create the procedure. The procedure actually has a real name. The parameters have real values. The query, you know, it says something. I mean, the comments say something. You know, it uses this information to retrieve things for the CEO reports. Hey, guess what? When this runs slow, I'm going to pay attention to it. Because it says this right here. Okay? But that's just a little key tag that I put in so I know what's going on. That's all. Just a nice little comment. By the way, I got beat up last time I demoed this because they were saying, well, this is a select statement. Why would you put a try catch around it? Because I'm doing a demo. Huh? Yeah, there you go. See? Yeah, it's because well, yeah, man, you're right, though. No, they do. Okay, so from statement, oops, my bad. So from statement, where statement, again, all broken up, indented, and then just to show the utility of it, I did a whole bunch of print statements on the error, you know, catching the error number, the error message, severity, state, line, proc. Just showing utility. This is not my normal error handler that I would create, but I'm just showing the utility. But the idea here is, again, I've got a method. It's laid out. It's nice and clear. It makes things more readable. All right? Anybody disagree? Because now we'll move on and start playing with the real stuff. Any comments? Anybody else see anything worse?
I'm trying to see what you really use there, because that's pretty verbose, and I'm tired of taking that whole try-catch statement. Is there something that's less verbose that you really use?
Yes, somewhat less verbose, but I got an article on Simple Talk. Oh my God, I just became Brent. I quit. Somebody tweet that. All right.
Simple talk / go /
Oh, no, I don't remember. Yeah. No. Okay. Performance tuning. These are basically common problems. All right, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. But before we're going to talk about all of them, and we're going to try to talk about every single one of them in the 41 minutes we have remaining, I want to talk about three things. When you write your T-SQL, you must write your T-SQL to the data structure you have, not the data structure you would like to have. I know that if you've got date columns stored as strings, that becomes problematic and you've got to try to do stuff with it. I'm sorry, formatting is best done in code. If it's stored as a string, you deal with it as a string. It's not a date. It can't be a date. It's a string. If you need to add columns, you need to modify columns, you need to change your structure in order to get to a place where you can actually write queries correctly, that's what you need to do. And I know that's a very, very tough statement, and I know a lot of people are going to go, yeah, but I get it. I've been there, and I've occasionally lost the fight. Usually I win them, but I lose enough of them. You've got to do it. Secondly, you must write to the indexes that you have. How many clustered indexes do we get? 1, usually. There was a bug in Sybase 6 that let you put in 2 if you did it just right. Yeah, interesting things happen to the database, by the way. Trust me. Yeah, it was a late night. Anyway, don't go there. You get 1 clustered index. Why would you not use it? Write your queries that use that index. You only get 1, and that's where your data is stored. You know, I know everybody's like, oh, always put it on the primary key, and primary key is an ID, and off we go. And I'm not arguing for natural keys, but if you never, ever, ever, ever refer to that ID in a where clause or a join criteria, you've just thrown away your cluster. And a clustered index is a really useful thing because it's where the data is stored. Okay? So write your code to your indexes. Finally, write your code to the query optimizer. The query optimizer is an amazing piece of machinery. It is incredible. If you want to know more about it, read Ben's book. I see you back there. It's a fantastic book. And you can learn about it. You can learn about how the optimizer works, what it does, how it does it. But you need to write your code in such a way that you are cognizant of the effects that the optimizer is going to have, that it's going to need statistics in order to make decisions on stuff, that functions are going to cause problems. You need to write your code such that the optimizer, you're helping it out, that you're not just shooting it in the face. It's not helpful. So write for your structures, write for your indexes, and write for the optimizer. All right? Any horrible disagreements with that? Yes?
What do you do when the one piece of code that's killing your app is an XML query that's got 4,000 operators? Have you had success with it?
Oh, my God. No, that's going to be really hard. And that's all I'm going to say about that right now. That's, where are the consultants' hands again? Yeah, yeah, I was going to say they're all going, no, that one.
My son has a phrase for that. Sucks to be you.
Yeah, no, I can't say that. For the video, he said it. All right, let's talk about coding problems. Data types. I already mentioned it, brought it up. Use the data type you have. And by the way, if you don't, SQL Server helps you out, right? Does a nice implicit conversion. That's cool, right? No. No, because that's actually a function. That's a function. Yeah, it's a function SQL Server did. Well, SQL Server did it, not me. I didn't put a function in. SQL Server did. Yep, well, functions cause scans. Scans generally cause slow performance. Not always, but sometimes. Usually, frequently. So instead, you must use the appropriate data types. Let's take a quick look at code. If I do a select statement here, oh wait, hang on, let's, where is it? I can't even see it. Having to mirror this stupid thing. I'll do it the hard way. Anybody see actual plans? Oh, there it is. There we go. Cool. Yeah, I know there's a quick key. I don't have it memorized. I'm not that smart. You see that in the back? All right, select business entity ID, national ID number from human resources employee as national ID number is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, and a semicolon. Emphasize the point. Results, 1 row. First time I've run it today, 2 reads, 6 milliseconds. Execution plan, index scan. And, oops, and Anybody see anything about the execution plan?
There's a little triangle.
Anybody see anything on the execution plan? I love Zoom it. Let's take a look at the properties. Let's go down here. Warnings. Look at that. Plan affecting convert. Can you see that? Plan affecting convert. This thing knows that it's doing a conversion, and it's letting me know. This is a little poke in the eye if you look at the execution plan. If you don't look at the execution plan, you'll never see it. But if you look at the execution plan, you'll see it there, and it's telling you, dude, you just wrote a query that's doing a conversion, and you need to do something about it. Okay? And it'll show you in detail. I'm not going to go into it right now, because we got a bunch of stuff to go through. Oops. Instead, what if, oh, I don't know, since the number there is a string and not actually a number, yes, and God bless Microsoft, AdventureWorks is so cool. People complain about AdventureWorks, oh, it doesn't really look like production. Yes, it does. You know why it looks like production? Because it's got all kinds of stupid stuff all mixed through it. It looks exactly like production. This number, it's just a number, but it's stored as a string. Now if you take a look at the results, we got back the same one row, same 2 milliseconds, same 2 reads, but if you take a look at the execution plan, I've got a nice clean index seek instead of the scan. And no warning anymore, because it's not doing a conversion. Now, did I show you some great thing that's going to save all your lives? No. And in this case, does that do a conversion of like, oh my gosh, it went from 5 minutes to 2 seconds? No. But in the real world, oh yeah, this kind of stuff is going to get you. Okay, so avoid it. Any questions on this? Yes, sir.
If you join between a varchar 50 and a varchar 30, would it have the same?
If you join between a varchar 30 and a varchar 50, no. No, generally not. If you join between a varchar and an in-varchar, it can. Not that it will, but it can. Okay, functions and comparisons. And this, by the way, is in the join clause too. I know I've heard a lot of people say, well, you can't have it in the where clause or the join. Okay, what happens? Same thing as the implicit function. It leads to scans. Scans lead to slow performance. What do you do instead? You know, it's literally, doctor, doctor, it hurts when I do this. Don't. Okay, don't do it. If you've got to use the functions, you can use some of the functions that are search argument able. There are several functions that do work, right? Use one of those instead. If you can't get away from it, you need to modify your structures and modify your data to avoid the function if you need to improve performance. Or you talk to your boss and say, well, since you won't let me change the table, your performance is just going to suck. Unless, of course, you want to go buy some more hardware. Because I've been looking at this 16 CPU thing, and it's slick, man. Where do you see it? Right? I mean, those are your choices.
What kind of functions are you talking about?
Let's talk about it. Good question. Right, everybody knows the difference between, I'm sorry, that was an excellent question. Everybody knows the difference between a good question and an excellent question? Good question, I don't know the answer to. That's a good question. No, seriously, that's a good question. Excellent question is on the next slide. Or in this case, the next code sample. Okay, so here's one. I want to select, get off there, stupid SQL prompt. Kidding. Yeah, I know. Select columns from person address as a where 444 is left of address line 14. That's a function, right? It's a function on the column. And if we run this, execute, get back our results. So is that how many rows? I can't see it. Anyway, thank you. Index scan. Can't get away from it, right? No matter what. If you take a look at the properties, you can scroll down. If I can scroll down. There we go. Take a look at the predicate. Can't see over there. Right. And you can see it's doing a substring function on it, right? It's built right in there. You can see what's going on. Nothing's hidden. Everything's exposed. You can see anything you need to see through the properties inside the execution plan. Instead, what if we did something crazy? Use a like statement, which does exactly the same thing, but because we're using like with % at the end, it's able to use indexes and use statistics on those indexes to look up that value, even though you're only using part of it. It's okay. Results are the same. It's slightly faster, fewer reads, and you get a nice clean index seek. It's not rocket science, right? It's not tricky. That's it. Any questions on that one? Okay, keep them going. Oops, sorry.
Is there a list of the functions? You had a search.
Yeah, you can do a search. It's in MSDN's got the ones that are search argument able. Yeah.
Search argument.
Sargable. However you want to say it. And most people aren't using it anymore, are they, that term? No? Okay, I didn't think so. I'm old. I can deal with it. All right, functions and comparisons. No, we did that one. Who was in my last session? Half the room. Cool. You have to listen to the story again. Multi-statement user-defined functions. Multi-statement table value user-defined functions. These things are dangerous. I had a team. I love this team to death. They built 56-layer deep multi-statement table value user-defined function, which called multi-statement table value user-defined function, which joined against multi-statement table value user-defined functions, which called other multi-statement table value user-defined functions. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. It was a full-on, full-blown, object-oriented database built within SQL Server. And it worked as long as you had one row. Because multi-statement table value user-defined functions work off of table variables. Table variables do not have one vital little bit of information for the optimizer. Statistics. They have no statistics. No statistics, the optimizer goes, well, I could guess, or I could use one row, which is why it works with one row. It didn't work with more. The optimizer does this, and what happens is you're going to see zero-cost operators in the execution plan. They are free, right? Zero-cost operators. Why is it zero cost? Because all the costs in even an actual plan are estimated values. And when the estimate is for 1, the cost is low. But it's an estimated cost. It's not a real cost. You're moving 1,000,000 rows. The cost is 1. So you're going to see a zero cost and horrifically bad performance. I mean horrifically bad. What do you do instead? I hesitate to give a number, but everyone always asks, approximately 50. If you're looking at more than 50 rows that you're going to be moving through these things, do not use them, period. It will cause problems. I guarantee it. Just guarantee it. So if it's more than 50 rows, don't use it, right? And even that 50 value, that's a swag, man. No lie. I've seen on a few occasions 10 to 15 rows cause problems. Okay? So just be careful. If anything you're doing requires statistics, if you're doing a join, if you're doing filtering, don't use them at all. Because even at 10, 15, 20 rows, you hit problems. Okay? I'm sorry. If that's your favorite tool in the world, but you didn't know why it was running slow, now you know why it's running slow, and you have to stop using it. At least in situations where it's going to cause you pain. Okay? Everybody all right with that? Let's play with the code. By the way, anything you're not all right with, just scream and yell at me. I'm cool. So I'm going to create a function, assuming I haven't created it already. I'm in the right database. That's cool. I'm going to create a function, sales info, defines a table, inserts, does a select statement. Probably already have it. Yeah, cool. All right. Then I'm going to create a second one, sales order details, and it's basically pulling from the sales order detail. Then I create a third one, which combines my sales information. It creates that table variable, does an insert, joining on those two functions. Okay? You see that? So I'm joining one function to another function. And we're just going to do the select statement. And we'll run it. And eventually it will return data. There it goes. However many couple hundred rows. Logical reads are a little high, 1,455. Execution time, 1.2 milliseconds. And you're thinking, like, what's the big deal? Yeah, you're right. It's probably not a big deal. By the way, there's my zero-cost function. And all I have is just this little table scan. No big deal to get a table scan because, we understand that. Right? So this thing's free. Well, let's see what the plan really looks like. So what I'm doing is I'm going to select the query plan. I'm going to do subtext. I'm going to pull out the statement start and offsets. And I'm going to go against system query stats, system and query plan, SQL text. And I'm going to get it where the object ID is equal to that combined function that I created. And yeah, it's not quick. There's the XML. Oh, look. That's just the first plan. There are two more. Right? Because look, there's a function and there's a function. Two more plans. And do you see something here? Oh, look. Hey. Zoom in a little bit so you can see it. There's cost here. Because it's actually doing stuff. Right? It's not free. This thing is doing hash match joins. Hash match joins. Interesting, hash match joins. Doesn't that, oh yeah, right. That writes out to tempdb. Oh, cool. I've just added my tempdb load. Yay. But it was hidden until you go in here and drag these things out and look at them. So that first plan we saw, that was a lie. This is the real plan, and it's not even the full thing because there's two other functions there. Okay? Everybody? Yeah. One thumb up. Cool. Let's close this. No, I don't need to save this piece of junk. Let's go back to here. Did I have any other points to make on this one? Nope. Oh, yeah. What do you do instead? I don't know. Let's go out on a limb. Let's do something really, really crazy. Let's write T-SQL. I'm going to join to tables and pass in a where clause. Get back the same set of results. Reads are fairly high, but 1.2 seconds, 230 milliseconds. Can I go to the boss and be happy? Yes, I can. Right? Boss, that query, I tuned it. Now, the execution plan is quote unquote ugly, and in fact, there are probably tuning opportunities. Tuning opportunities you would never have seen with the function, let alone the fact that the function was stabbing you in the neck. There were other issues that you needed to resolve. Right? You've got a missing index. Now, everybody, by the way, everybody who goes, oh, missing index, let me create that. Good, good. If you're laughing, that's a good sign. Yes. Oh, wait, somebody's.
Missing index hint to come up because I swear it never comes up on my machine. It always comes up on my other coworker's machine.
No, it's standard. It's SQL Server 2005 and up.
Is it an option under tools options?
No, it should be there.
I've never seen it on my machine.
I contact Microsoft. Issue a connect thing. All right, yeah. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. I'm sorry. If you're using 2000 Management Studio, are you? No. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I already did that. Okay. Cool. Hopefully, the next slide does not cause anyone to scream or throw things at me. Okay, guys? No. The use of the no-lock query hint everywhere, or using read uncommitted, is in fact extremely problematic. Everyone knows it results in what? Dirty reads. Everyone thinks dirty reads means when I'm updating the values from dog to cat, I could get it coming back as dog. I don't care.
You might not get dog.
You might not get dog, you might not get cat. You might get one or the other. You don't know, right? But everybody goes, I don't care. I don't care. You know what I mean? So God, this thing runs faster, right? It's like the turbo button on the old 286, man. You keep that pushed in and everything runs, man. It's like it's cool. How many people run businesses that care if the data misses a few rows? Okay. How many people care that if your bank account, say, has a few extra deductions in it, like duplicates? Because, yeah, I care. Or more than me caring, my wife really cares. Oh. Dirty reads means page splits can occur and rearrange the data as it's reading. And the page splits can move the data around, and you can miss rows or you can duplicate rows. You can read them twice or you can not read them at all. And it's really easy to replicate. I'm not going to do it because other people wrote the code better than me, and I'm not going to try to steal their thunder. Jason Straight's got some great examples. Itzik Bin Gan has got some great examples, and those guys are much better at it. I just want to bring it up because I want you to know it's problematic. It's really problematic. So what do you do instead? Tune the queries. You know, do the hard thing. I mean, it makes me crazy that people will go in there, they have this 15-table join, and they will take the time to type no lock against 15 tables, and they will write every single query with no lock on it. And somebody even said, was it you? No, somebody told me that they got a query back when they were at a consulting gig. It was earlier on Sunday. I was out at a bar. And they told me they got a code review, and someone kicked back their code because it did not have no lock in it. It's nuts. Why don't you just write the code correctly? Or tune your structures, right? If you've got a problem, you don't have an index, okay, get an index. If you're not using your cluster, use your cluster. Do the stuff you need to do. Or use the snapshot isolation levels. The snapshot isolation levels actually radically reduce locking. Radically. They don't eliminate it. Nothing's free. And also they add an extra load to the TimpDB. Yay, TimpDB. But any of that is better than using no lock because you won't have to worry about getting extra rows or missing rows. And it's not that dog-cat thing. I agree. Who cares? Well, okay, in most situations, but not in all. But that missing rows, that extra rows thing, that's a problem. Okay? Everybody okay with this?
What about if you're not writing code, but you're the DBA just doing samples and counts for statistics to go with index, but you're just...
And you're putting no lock on?
You know, like you're just counting up just to get an idea. What's in the table so you can track the index?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you could still get an inaccurate count. Yeah, okay. But yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I've seen situations where people do it. Also, another thing is like, the one thing I've heard, and this one knocked me down when I heard it, was like, well, no, it's a reporting database, so it doesn't matter. One, it's a reporting database, have data loads during the day. Yeah. It does matter. Okay, or no, it doesn't have data loads during the day. Okay, great. Set it to read only. All locking goes away. And now you don't have to write no lock in all your. But yeah, I think that's probably an okay thing. I don't want to get into. Again, any tool, there are uses, right? There are uses for this, but not the way everybody gets it, and it's like, ooh, look, nail, nail, nail. This is the coolest hammer ever, nail. Right? No, it's not. That was a screw. That was your child. You know what I mean? Stop, okay? Query hints. Here's the deal. Query hints are misnamed. Anytime you're using them, understand that you are not hinting. You are commanding. Right? They are absolutes. It's not like, hey, you know, it might be a good idea. You could try this if you're thinking, you know, if you got an extra second. No, it's thou shalt do this. You know what I mean? If somebody's come down with stone tablets, you got to follow the rules now. Right? Commands are query hints. Indications. Weird behavior. Okay? Inconsistent behavior. Bad performance. Okay? The team, by the way, the team that did the 56-layer UDFs fixed it, quote unquote, with an 86-table join. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And we had a consultant come in to help them tune the 86-table join, and he put a hint on one table and went away. Good consultant, smart guy. And you know, I mean, his ultimate thing was like, you need to get rid of this, you need to restructure, blah, 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 blah. And he gave us a bunch of good stuff. It was really, you know, it was very useful. But he put one hint on and went away because it did help the performance. And the developers then replicated that hint to all the rest of the tables and all the rest of the code. And I got called in because the queries were going really, 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 really slow. And what it was, they were running fast 1 on everything. Why? Because they looked at the execution plan. Because the consultant had shown them how to look at the execution plan. He'd not told them anything else, but he showed them how to look at the execution plan. And they looked at the execution plan, and it had a loop join. And loop join is always best. Yeah, no. Because fast 1 does basically, anyway, I don't want to get into it. But query hints are commandments. Query hints are a last gasp resort. And I don't mean like, oh gosh, I spent 5 minutes on it already. Last resort. Or, oh, I saw this problem a year ago. Last resort. I mean, I spent a week pounding the hell out of this. I've called in a consultant. We've worked together. You know, I've posted to Twitter and nobody had an answer. I'm joking. You wouldn't put this kind of problem on Twitter. It's an exception. And when I say an exception, exceptions are exceptional, right? Exceptions are not standard practice, and exceptions are not something that should be on every single statement. That's not an exception. That's a rule. And query hints should not, by rule, be used everywhere. Okay? Everybody? Okay. Let's look at the code. Yes, go ahead.
We went through our code base, and they put no locks on every table out there. Just like we're talking about right now, and we've talked to them about it, but we haven't gotten to it. Where would we find some documentation for that and show them that we're not supposed to be doing this?
Man.
Deprecated.
June.
Put it on there, 2012 for warnings, and after that, in 2012 we even allow you.
Right. There's actual documentation that suggests not to do it. But honestly, go to your junior DBA. Everybody knows who the junior DBA is? Google.
Yeah, I ran into that. You can find more articles discounting it, and you find very few people willing to say what they say to you in person on the internet that you have to always use it.
Right.
That true professionals put that at the end of every statement, which
I have seen that. Yeah, I've seen that on the line. But there's also some fantastic articles by actually smart people about why not to use it. I would go there to get that information. Yeah.
I've had so I'm a recovering Oracle DBA, so there's some context here, but I've had outstanding success with recommitted snapshot mode. So if you just don't have the energy or budget to actually fix the locking the right way, then that's your best friend.
It is. It really is.
And by the way, that's how Oracle always runs. There's no choice not to run that. So.
Yeah, the recommitted snapshot's amazing. It does put an extra load on TempDB, but other than that, pardon?
Is that an enterprise feature?
I don't think so, but it is a 2008 and up, right? Yeah. Oh, it's 2005? I thought 2005 just had snapshot. I thought recommitted snapshot was 2008 and better.
And in fact, recommitted snapshot is what you're more after, because when you do the snapshot isolation, then it is a lot of load. There is some locking amongst the
He's right.
So is there a hint for that? Because you can just search and replace.
No, it's a connection setting. It's not. Oh, I see what you did there. That's good. Well done. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at this hint. Query hint is a loop join, because we all know, as those developers knew, loop joins are better. Oops. Helps if you don't hit the right button. There we go. So the results come back. It did a whole bunch of reads, and the execution time was 40 milliseconds. And we got loop joins, so because loop joins are better. Of course, it's moving 700 rows in 700 rows and 700 rows and 700 rows on loop joins. That's 700 this way and then 700 that way, and it's ew. That's kind of messy. That might not be real smart. Well, what if we just, I don't know. Again, something crazy. Trust the optimizer. Run the query. Take a look at it. Same result set. Hey, 50% reduction. 40 milliseconds to 24 milliseconds. By the way, you never tell the boss that. I went from 40 milliseconds to 24 milliseconds. He'll laugh you out of the office. Right? You got a 50% improvement. It did a nested loop join. It also did a hash match, and it ran faster. Okay, so forcing the loop join just was not smart. And yeah, okay, I realize this is a contrived example, but man, I've seen it everywhere. And some of the other consultants out here will be nodding their heads. Everybody okay? Well, you know what? Let's run this. So what I've got to do is purchase orders times 2 divided by 300 and get the results back. 22 milliseconds execution time, and I got a key lookup here, which isn't always necessarily the greatest thing in the world, but it's no big deal. It ran pretty well. But I got a key lookup, and I know that there's a good index there. I know there's an index that supports that column. So I want to use it. I'm going to force the index, no problem, because I want that index. I know that index works. Right? It's a good index. It's a good index on that column. It should be using it, so we're going to make it use it because we're smarter than the optimizer. 16 milliseconds. That's not bad. And I got my clustered index scan. Huh. Interesting. Well, what if we did something really crazy? What if instead of multiplying to the column, which is a function, we ran it this way? It's actually slightly slower in this case, but again, we're running this little tiny query against my little tiny machine. Index seek. Because the index is good. The index is there. The index is usable, but I was stepping on myself instead of doing what I should have done, which is fix the query. Just another stupid example, but one that I have seen in the real world. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
How common is it to have a need to hint and index use rather than just locating the best index?
How common is that? It's pretty exceptional. I definitely have seen it. How'd you know I was going to say that? Yeah, well, that's true. Spatial indexes is one place where I've seen it, where you have. There was a point prior to a service pack you had to, right? And so that was the only way to make them work. And in that case, it was not exceptional. It was the rule. But subsequently they fixed it, and it will help. It will do them automatically most of the time, but occasionally I've seen it where you actually have to say, okay, dude, there is an index here. It will work. Now, test it, right? Don't just say, oh, well, this guy said it would work, so off we go. We'll put it everywhere. You know what I mean? Test it. Validate that you're in that situation. But yeah, I have seen places where the spatial index is the one place I know I've seen it happen. Anybody else got any others?
One place where it should have been 2 Procs, and it was 1, and so the 2 subparts of it had vastly different plans, and the first execution of it would determine which plan it was going to use, and so they put a hint on it telling it to use the index they
that it should normally use most of the time?
Yeah, you know what? I think that you had a bad parameter sniffing issue, and you fixed it with a query with an index hint.
Right.
Yeah, that's not the choice I would have made there.
I just split it into use Proc.
And it fixed the problem. Yeah, that's even better.
For a while, I ran with Recompile.
Yep. Well, actually, Recompile is not a bad choice, believe it or not. I know it sounds crazy, but after just saying don't do that, I'm saying, yeah, in that case, I would. All right, so moving on. I'm going to skip recompiles and null values because I want to talk about rebar. Anybody here familiar with Jeff Moden on SQL Server Central? He's like the second or third top poster.
Is the cool animated GIF?
Yeah. Rebar, row by agonizing row. I got his permission to use the phrase. Cursors instead of set-based. And by the way, while loops are cursors. For everybody who thought, cursors, who uses them? I use a while loop. That's a cursor. Or even multiple statements where you can get by with one. Now, I'm not saying that you should always use one. There's plenty of places where breaking stuff down, even putting stuff into temporary tables and doing multiple statements against it's actually a better way to do it than trying to jam it into a single statement. But I've also seen it the other way where people are just doing a gazillion different statements, and it really, really, really results in painfully, horrifically slow performance. Don't believe me? Let's play. We're going to skip the recompiles. And the nulls are kind of silly. Rebar. Okay, we've got like it's somewhat contrived, but I have a point. You'll see. I'm doing a begin transaction. I'm declaring my variables here, and I'm declaring a cursor for my big update, and I'm selecting these columns from production product, and I'm opening it, and I'm doing a fetch next, and while my status is that, if the weight's less than 3, I'm going to update the value and make it blue. Yay! I like blue. And then do the next fetch, and then deallocate it, and select star from the thing where it's blue, and then roll back the transaction. Okay? Everybody stayed up with me? I know I went kind of quick, but it's a simple. Okay, cool. So we're going to run this. Eventually it finishes. Oh, crud, I forgot. You know one thing we needed? We actually need to look at the update statement to see when the update statement runs. We need to look at the execution plan of the update statement. So I'm just going to switch over to the execution plan, and we'll take a look at the update statement, okay? Now, when you guys see the update statement, could you please let me know? Because, and by the way, it's still running. The query is still running. Okay, you know what? We're going to stop. Where's the stop button? Help me, help me. There we go. I can't quite see it. All right, that's enough. Points made. That's incredibly stupid. What if, oh, I don't know, I did that. Now, 1, this is contrived. 2, I've seen it like this in real life. Don't do this, okay? All right. I'm not going to show the example for this because we only have 2 minutes left, and someone's going to come here and kick me out. This is the same problem as with functions. You start nesting these things, and the optimizer goes through this process called simplification, wherein it will try to eliminate things that it doesn't need. But if you're joining views and nesting views, and you're giving it 500 tables to look at, because it makes things easier for your code, you've just shot the optimizer in the head. Okay? And it's not going to be able to simplify that stuff. It's not going to have time. And it's going to try to eliminate many of the tables it can, and it's going to try to come up with an optimized plan, but it will not have time. So if you have to, materialize views, but please, 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 nesting views is crazy. And everybody knows what nesting views is, right? Okay, cool. So the goal was talk about readability. Remember, diddle tibble is bad. Okay? And then also talk about performance. And these, again, just reemphasizing, make sure you've got a local standard. Make sure that you come up with object names that make sense, not diddle tibble. Make sure you've got consistency. Make sure you're using comments, meaningful comments, formatting, error handling, all the rest. And then as far as the writing for performance, I can't emphasize it enough. Write for your data structure, write for your indexes, and write for the optimizer. And if you don't understand the optimizer, get Benjamin's book.
What is the name of this book?
What's the name of your book? Inside the SQL Server Query Optimizer. I knew that. I was the tech editor, except I learned more from him than I helped him fix it stuff. So it was kind of, I was like, wow, cool, really? It works like that? All right. Any questions before we go? Because we are actually roughly out of time. I will go over until someone kicks us out. Yes?
Do you have any good reasons for actually pinning plans in memory?
Pinning plans in memory. Do I have any good reasons for that? Keep using the keep fix plan, right? Yeah, actually I do. In my beautiful 86 table join example, one of the other problems we ran into is, by the way, recompiles occur when statistics get updated, right? 86 tables, statistics get updated fairly frequently. 86 tables, we get the query running about 50 to 100 milliseconds. The query itself ran in 50 to 100 milliseconds. Compile time was 3.5 minutes. And by the way, this query was the one that's like on every single page. You know, that query that gets called first on every single page. And so about every 12 to 15 minutes, the system would lock up solid for 3.5 minutes while it did a recompile and then keep running. So yeah, in that case, we did a keep fix plan so it wouldn't do recompiles. But it was literally a crutch. It was a Band-Aid on a, you know, it was like, and we put a Band-Aid across to kind of keep things together. But that was the one situation I have where it was like that. No, not that I've run into. Some of the, you know, again, some of the other guys may have. Yes?
I had a boss 3 jobs back that was terrified of the OR clause. Whenever you wrote, show me all the employees where first name is Aaron or John, that was select star from employees where first name equals Aaron, union, where, I mean.
That's actually a great solution if you're hitting problems with the OR clause. But only if you're hitting problems with the OR clause. The optimizer's gotten pretty good with the OR clause lately. It was very problematic in 2000, 2005. I'm sorry, yeah? Yeah, you have to use union all. If you use union, it will eliminate. But yeah, you have to use union all. Thanks for pointing that out. But yeah, that was a common problem in 2000, and that was the better solution for it, frequently, not always. One more question, if anybody's got one. If not, thank you very much for attending. Cool. Have a good night. Yes, sir.
These slides are going to be available at the end of the month, correct?
Good to see you. Yes.
Okay. I just wondered because you skipped one of the ones I was interested in.
Oh, recompiles? Oh, NULL Values? Yeah, I just showed
I just wondered which practices you were going to talk about.
using is null instead of equals null.
Okay.
Because people make that mistake. It's just a common error.
Mine gives me a compile error if I use equals null. I have a question for you.
Put it away. Yes.
So I'm on the verge of inheriting all sorts of database administrator responsibilities and have no idea how to handle it.
Yay!
Well, my work has been totally cool with whatever training you think you need, let us know, we'll cover it as long as you don't disappear for like months and go to school.
Right, yeah.
Suggestions? I mean, like, is the Microsoft DBA certification the way to go?
No. This is an opinion.
Okay.
The MCM standing here. No. Oh, sorry. I'm trying. See, I knew somebody was going to come kick me out shortly. I forgot who it was going to be.
You moved a lot more quickly. I didn't realize I could just wave you around like that. Thank you for teaching me that valuable lesson.
It doesn't always work.
Just usually.
Often enough. No, I don't have a good answer for you.
Okay.
There are training courses and stuff, but like most of the courses have a tendency to specialize. Like you can go learn from Paul and Kim. Right? They teach a fantastic course. You'll walk out of it a genius, except you're probably not going to know how to set up your backups. right? Because they're not going to cover that. No, I don't have a good answer for it. I mean, it's kind of, there's some books out there. I mean, hell, I wrote a book on getting started. But would I recommend that for somebody in your position? No, I wouldn't.
You'll end up like that guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I just got the accidental DBA book.
Now that book's
I
fantastic.
haven't quite opened it yet, but I got it.
It's not.
Grant, where's the power?
He took it.
Oh God, yeah.
Still room in that class, do you know?
No, my understanding is it's sold out. Yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, this quick overview is just a sampling of what we're going to go into tomorrow. Because tomorrow, like I was just bouncing in and out of execution plans. Tomorrow we're going to go like into it and walk through them very carefully. Getting our feet wet, getting our knees muddy.
I'll stop by the desk.
Yeah, ask. I mean, you know, it can't hurt to ask.
Did you say you're sold out for tomorrow?
Yes,
How many's that?
180.
Oh, not bad.
No complaints.
I told them to cap it at 150. I thought.
Oh, really? I didn't tell them to cap it. I was,
No, because
Pack 'em
last
in.
year they sold like over 200 in some of them, and it was too much.
Really?
You know, it was like way too bad. So,
yeah, no, Gail and I only had 120 last year, and that was cool.
That's for a picture.
Oh, right. Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. And I'm keeping you from getting to your next thing.
are both of these
This is, I'll go back to the office and I'll go back to the office.
Check. Okay.
It works.
There are training courses. You know what? If you look up...
Do you have a card and I can email you?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
His books are good.
Okay.
There's going to be one on reading the execution plan.
And that's going to be... There's a new version coming out.
Oh, good. That book is
This
how
week.
I talked my boss into letting me come in here this week.
There's a new version coming out this week.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Which book?
The execution book. It's my book.
Okay. Oh,
How's it going?